Coach, the elements that WVU's offense brings, preparing for something like that. Have you seen a spread offense the way they run it? They also make some I formation and stuff like that.
There's a couple teams in our league that have some of the same principles, but even as you know, Dan has done a great job of continuing to evolve his offense through the years, and certainly the number one element that stands out is how well they run the football and how physical they are up front and how hard their backs run. And obviously everybody wants to think about the spread and they want to think about passing the ball and all the great pass concepts they have and Gibson. And there's no doubt that they can hurt you in the throwing game, but it's like any offense, whether you're pro style or spread, if they can run it, then they can do whatever they want to. So it's a great challenge to stop their running game.
They have four guys that have at least 400 yards. Does that make it also, different? It's not just one guy or whatever.
Well, what that means to me is somebody's blocking well, right? Because that means whoever they're putting in there, they're getting productivity. So they're doing a good job of blocking guys, getting guys blocked up front. That also counts tight ends. And that also counts what they're doing schematically to run the football. And part of that is because you may be worried about the threat of the pass. And that's where you got to fight the battle on. If you got to fight the battle on both fronts, they're very hard to stop.
How would you compare this quarterback? Who would you compare this quarterback to that you face? Maybe?
He's a little different than anybody we've really faced, but he has a lot of experience in their system. They're going to out-execute you with their concepts, and he's going to be aware of where everybody is on the field. And he also throws a very good deep ball. And in Gibson, they've got a guy that can really stretch you down the field to get it.
And Manny, one other thing, you talked about, or it might have been Mark earlier this week, tackling sometimes when you've been away from the game for a while, some of the fundamentals, they almost forget a little bit, they get rusty. How are they doing with tackling and all that?
Yeah, well, we're continuing to emphasize it every day. I think the issue is it's the speed of the game. It's just different. And what happens is you're going, and then you stop for 4 weeks, and then you jump right back into it. What other sport does that? There's no one else that really plays and doesn't play for a month and then plays again. So just that idea of all of a sudden, here comes a guy running at you full speed. Here comes, we can't simulate, what the receivers are like when they're storming down the field on the vertical passing you. So it'll be a challenge for both teams to just get right back up to speed, of the rhythm that you have, as you're going through November.
When you came here, you said you wanted toughness and tackling. To this point, through 12 games, what would you say? How would you describe the standard you set in those two areas?
I think in terms of, for year one, establishing the identity of our defense and being a defense that is defined by our toughness and tackling. I think if you look at the rushing per yards per carry stats and where that's gone, if you look at red zone touchdown percentage, which to me is a toughness stat, that's a mental toughness stat, and if you look at all what we're all playing for, which is points allowed, you're tackling somebody if you're not giving a lot of points because you're not giving them big plays. If you don't give them big plays and you're tough in the red zone, it's hard scoring. So I think from an identity standpoint, and the thing we talk about with our guys, toughness and tackling, it's like pitching in baseball. It should travel every week. That's something that should not waver. You will not always do everything right. Some offenses might execute well against you, but if you still get the guy on the ground and play with toughness. And that's we'll be doing the same thing on Wednesday that we did in the FAMU game. As coaches, we'll be out there just demanding those two things. Because they're going to get yards. I mean, they're a good offense. I mean, they know what they're doing. They can get some yards, but we have to win the battle of the toughness, and we got to do a great job tackling.
So you would say that you're encouraged. I don't want to say please, because I don't think you would ever say please, right? But for year one, establishing that year.
I think this year we look for again, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but I thought we were a good tackling football team. So I thought our guys in the back end, I thought our seniors in the secondary are really. That's really where in college football, how well your secondary tackles really is how well your defense tackles. And it is you don't notice the plays where the guys in the front seven maybe mess something up, and the guy in the back end comes and gets it on the ground. Even if it's a 15-yard gain, it's not a 50-yard gain. And against this offense, explosive plays are what beats you. Against any offense, explosive plays beat you. So tackling will be a big point of emphasis for us.
A couple more questions.
You having grown up in Miami and the history and stuff, how surprising is it to you that UM has not won a bowl game in 10 years?
Well, that's just one of those things that it's good for us to, it's sort of something we can kind of attack. You know, it gives us something that we can do. And I told our guys, you know, this is a game where they're handing out a trophy after the game. They're handing out a trophy after you're called a champion. Ultimately, if we want to become champions of big things, you have to learn how to win a championship. So this is a great opportunity for us to learn what it takes to win a championship. And if they're going to give you a trophy, you have to beat somebody really good to get a trophy. Washington's a very good football team, so it's a great challenge for us to go and be on that podium at the end of the game, holding up that trophy.
Manny, you relied on a lot of true freshmen this season, and they've had great years. Now, as you look to the bowl performance and then the offseason, where are you going to be looking for growth from these guys as they head into their sophomore years?
Well, they have so much room to improve because what you kind of hang over their head is you played well for a freshman, right? Usually when you play as a freshman, expectations are so low that the fact that you're actually a serviceable football player exceeds expectations. It's like, wow, you're actually not burning down the building. Now, next year, because they have played and they have so much experience, if you just are comfortable with what you do, well, it's like any player, if you're comfortable with where you're at, then you're not really pushing yourself to be as good as you can be. So, like anything, all we talk about is great teams look to constantly improve. Champions just want to get better. Whether you can win, you lose, you're always trying to get better. So that'll be our challenge with those guys. Find all the things in their game. And you have to make it up. You just look at the film, see what's real, and find a way to get them better.
All right, last question.
That was it.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, man. All right, kids.